Hi, how are you doing? This is Pastor Cheryl. I did a short on this subject, and so now I'm doing a longer homily. And so, anyway, bear with. It's not that long. Luke 19 and verses 41, Jesus' love for Jerusalem. As he approached, he saw the city, and he wept for it, saying, "If you knew this day what would bring peace. But now it is hidden from your eyes. From the days will come on you when your enemies will build a barricade around you, surround you, and hem you in on every side. They will crush you and your children among you to the ground, and they will not leave one stone on another in your midst, because you did not recognize the time when God visited you." Well, you say, when did this happen? It's been happening over the past 2,000 years. History repeats itself. One thing after another has happened to the Jewish people. First, they were exiled from the city, not just Jerusalem, but they were exiled from Israel and fled to Europe. Then in Europe, there were a series of pogroms, starting from when they arrived to somewhere in the medieval ages, and then finally when they got to the United States, the pogroms stopped. But what is a pogrom? They would go through, an army would go through a village of Jewish people, their ghetto. They called them ghettos. Ghetto means we want to be here, we want to live together. It doesn't mean the poor place in town. It means that they want to live together. And they would go through their ghetto, and the army, led by a Catholic priest with a cross, holding a cross up, and they'd go and start slaughtering people. So a lot of the Jewish people, the women and children, would run into the nearby forest, and they'd end up frostbite on their fingers and toes and their noses, and they'd lose that. They'd lose their noses and fingers and toes from that kind of discrimination. This went on for hundreds of years. Then we had the Holocaust, where the Jewish people were hated, no reason. They weren't hated for any reason, and they were told that because they killed Jesus, so they were afraid of, who is this Jesus guy? He must have been a bad person because we're getting killed because of him. Remember the last verse in here. You did not recognize the time when God visited you. That's Jesus, of course. And so they were slaughtered off in the Holocaust. Some made it here. The British people managed to get some Jewish people to Israel, where they had problems there because they brought too many, and the Palestinian people couldn't take in all those refugees. And so Palestine was taken by force by the British people. Yeah, the British people stood up for the Jewish people. And then after a period of time, the Jewish people wanted to run their own government, and then they asked us to step in because, the British people wanted to continue to run things. And so we came in as a mediator, and since we have been helping Israel ever since 1942, when they became a state, their own individual government, that was a prophecy. That was a prophecy. And those people that see Israel to become a state, that generation, and a generation is 80 years, will see the Christ return. They'll see it all happen. The rapture and Christ's return. And so, when did all this happen? Well, it's happening now still, because it says there'll be a barricade around you and hem you in on every side. So Israel, on all sides of their little tiny itty bitty piece of land there, is hemmed in by Muslim countries that want them gone. They want them gone. And have been attacking them, like Hamas, and continuing to attack. And, you could see why Israel, once they're attacked by their neighbors, really slugs them harder than what their neighbors did to them, okay? They do. They slug them a lot harder. And so anyway, now we're in there again. Apparently yesterday sent a battleship. Trump sent a battleship over to Iran. Iran's been a problem. And wants to continue to harass and attack Israel. That's why Iran wants a nuclear weapon, so they can nuke Israel. We won't allow it. We won't allow that stuff to go on. That radiation stuff floats all around in the air, and it blows off the Mediterranean Ocean there, and the Mediterranean Sea, and it'll blow inland. Get everybody else. We can't allow that stuff to go on. You have to think about the Earth. You don't want that radioactive stuff in the soil. It kills people. It kills animals. It kills everything. And so that is what we're looking at now, is Trump has got a battleship over there to kind of really settle the score with Iran. And Iran has sided now with Russia. We're expecting a retaliation from Russia. It's been prophesied that they're going to drop, or they're going to hit New York City, Naples, Florida, Washington, D.C., and Camp David. And, a number of other places, but just mainly those. And with nuclear weapons. And they're going to try to take over the United States. So this is a heads up to the military. Yes, we've all had visions. We've all had dreams. I had a dream of some Russian soldiers taking over the United States. It was like 20, 30 years ago. And I'm thinking, what is with this dream? And it was a repeated thing. And now it looks more like it really could happen than being just a dream. It really, something could happen here. Keep it in prayer. Keep this stuff, and we don't want a nuclear war on our soil. We don't want any war on our soil. We just don't want that stuff. And so, we know that Trump is eccentric. And we know he's kind of out to lunch. And we knew this. People voted for him and knew this. I could see it, And he's a better person now than he was 4 or 5 years ago when he was in office the first time. He's nicer, okay? And so, anyway, this here, Jesus' love for Jerusalem, he was in love with his people, and they have been chased around the globe. They have been chased around the globe, killed off and chased around and round, and still being harassed and chased around and killed. And it's not good. This is not good. So anyway, that is the long version of the short story that you heard with the little short. I don't know how to split it up, because that takes a computer. And when I moved, my computers were thrown into a box and the cords were lost. Okay? And so I have to make do. So I use a little telephone. That's fine. That's fine. But I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.